Hey guys, welcome to today's video. And instead of something informational and trying to help you guys either grow the motivation to start your business or give you strategies to help you grow your business, today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Today I wanted to take you guys through my journey as an entrepreneur, what I've accomplished, the road to get here, and all the ups and downs along the way, the things that I've learned. So to get into this and keep this as short and sweet as possible while giving you guys the most value, I want to start when I started working for Red Bull. I was on the on-premise marketing team, which means that in Las Vegas, I was part of the marketing team that was working with the nightclubs, with the restaurants, and with the casinos. It's a fun job, and I love the people that I worked with till this day, and it was one of the best jobs that I've ever had. But I realized at a certain point that I wanted to be in control of my own destiny. There came a point where I got into the Red Bull graduate program, but there was a 6-month period where I was going to be unemployed. And instead of just sitting around for those 6 months, I decided to use those 6 months to try to start my own business, because I couldn't go get a career. I couldn't go get a job because I knew I was only going to be there for 4 to 6 months before having to leave to go work in this graduate program. So what I did is started a marketing agency. This marketing agency was really the start of my entrepreneurial journey. And I really knew all along that I wanted to be a business owner in some way, shape, or form. I knew that the only real way to create wealth is to own your own business and be in control of your own destiny. So that is when I started my first marketing agency, and I started it out as a social media marketing agency. The reason that I started it as social media is because I really had a passion for photography and videography. And I used that passion. I had all the camera equipment to start making content for businesses. What I would do is either work with businesses or I would work with real estate agents. I actually got my first clients by going to Zillow and organizing the listings in Las Vegas from the most expensive real estate listings, meaning like $10 million plus, all the way down to the least expensive. And I started working my way down, cold emailing all of the listing agents of these multi-million-dollar properties, offering to do one video for free for them of the listing. And after that, I told them, hey, my rate is going to be this after, but I would do this first video for free. And that is how I got my first start as the agency. And over time, I kept doing those videos and kept acquiring clients by doing the first video for free. It was a lot of work to acquire a new client, but at the time I had nothing to lose but my time. And I got out there, I made a ton of real estate videos, and I got pretty good at it. But eventually a Red Bull connection from when I was working with Red Bull introduced me to a guy named Steve Darnell. He had a show on Discovery Channel called Welder Up Garage. And they told me that they were looking for a videographer to grow his YouTube channel. He had 0 subscribers at the time. And I actually went to meet with him in Las Vegas. He had a shop there, and negotiated a deal where I was able to make $5,000 or so a month to make a video every week and do all of his other social media for him. And keep in mind, that was on top of the other clients that I was already having. So I was making pretty good money by that point. And it came to a point where I really needed to decide if I was going to go through with this Red Bull graduate program and work kind of like in a 9-to-5 situation. Although it was going to be a very, very, very fun job, I had that decision to make of, hey, continue down this path of being my own boss and growing my own company, or go and work for Red Bull. It came down to a point where I was already making twice as much as I would have had I went and worked for that graduate program in Red Bull. So the answer became pretty obvious. I left on really good terms. I still talk to the people there and my prior bosses and coworkers, and I love all of them. And it's really great for me to see them. And I see them every time I go back to Vegas, especially. But it was a tough decision to make, one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make. And leaving that family from Red Bull and going to venture off on my own was a big deal for me. But regardless, I decided to venture off on my own. And over time, I was working more and more, doing more content. And what I realized is I was really trading my time for money. And when you're in videography, people want to hire you. They want to hire you, the videographer, because they've seen your work in the past And I realized that I was getting trapped in this business, that I was just creating another job for myself. I wasn't able to outsource this. I wasn't able to send another videographer, although I tried on a couple occasions. It just wasn't working for me. And I realized that the logistics behind it, the profit margins behind it, wasn't something that I wanted to continue down on. Although we were making great money, I needed to figure out a way to systematically scale this into a bigger business. And that's when I dove down the rabbit hole of not only doing social media marketing, but I really started studying SEO. And that's search engine optimization. It's where I can take a website and I can do all of this work to it to make Google put it on the first page of results. So if you were to search for a plumber in San Diego, for example, I can get a website to show and be the first website there. And that's where the majority of the business goes. So I started studying as much as I could, reading all kinds of books about SEO, and I ended up working with an overseas team and building out a team overseas to execute on SEO work. And once I figured that out, I started to attain clients by calling local businesses and offering to do the same thing that I did with the real estate business, which is, hey, I'll work on your SEO for free until I get you results, and which time this is going to be the rate. And if they agreed to it, great. There was no risk on their end, because if they did get to that first page, I was going to pay for my services and more. I was going to basically be making my services free on top of making them even more money than what I was going to be costing them to do the SEO. So everything is going great. I'm having a good time. I actually hired my first employee at this point because I just had so much work. I was working all day long and I had no time for myself. I was working all day on the weekends, and that first employee really helped relieve a lot of pressure off my plate. But at this point, COVID hit. And overnight, I lost 100% of all of our clients. And I ended up actually moving back to San Diego. I moved back in with my dad at this point, and timing just aligned right where my lease was up in Vegas, and I was looking to get out of Vegas anyway. And I figured, hey, why am I going to go spend a bunch of rent living in LA or somewhere else if everything's going to be locked down anyway? So I took that lockdown opportunity and just moved in with my dad. And this was one of the best decisions I ever made, because when the company lost all of its clients for the most part, I was able to still take really big risks. I was making enough money to retain our employees and keep them paid, but I was also able to take really big risks in advertising. I bought a few courses. I ended up spending about $10,000 on courses and information during the first part of COVID. And learning all of that and learning the different marketing techniques really unlocked scale for my marketing agency. It was a huge risk. I had never bought that much money in courses before, but it was something that I felt like I had to do. I felt like I was backed up against a wall. And if you don't make big changes, things are not going to change in a big way. And I needed things to change in a big way. So I took that risk, bought those courses, learned them, watched them multiple times, took really good notes on them, and implemented them. And this COVID shift where we lost the majority of our clients was actually the biggest blessing that I've had in my businesses to date, because we were a very, very much in-person agency. We would go meet our clients in person. We would work with them in person. And overall, it was just not a scalable solution. So when COVID hit, I designed the business moving forward to only be remote. I can meet with 10 clients in a day remotely, or I can meet with 3 if I have to drive around town and talk to them all and wait for them to get done with their prior meeting and whatnot. So this was one piece of the puzzle that unlocked scale. The other piece was I really dove deep into digital advertising at that time. And I unlocked a funnel system that was able to get us clients for a really good cost to acquire. And they were all SEO clients. The good thing about that is we weren't trading our time for hours anymore. We were actually building systems that could scale with good profit margins. We could handle way more clients with our overseas team, and the profit margins were much better than doing video work. Overall, a really great experience. And when we were running ads during COVID, everybody else had stopped their ads. And overall, we were acquiring clients easier than ever. Even to this day, the easiest time I've ever had when acquiring clients is during that time of lockdown and COVID. I don't know if it was because everybody was just sitting around waiting for a sales guy to call because they were bored or what it was. But we were locking down clients left, right, and center. And we still have the clients that I locked down on my own time while I was making all the sales calls. I was trying to make 100 calls a day, following up with people and doing the onboardings and everything during COVID. We still have those clients today. So that just goes to show how good the work that we were doing during that time and up to this time is, because the clients that signed with us at the very beginning of the lockdowns are still with us, and we were able to grow their businesses and they see a return on investment from our work every single month. So that was a huge turning point in my entrepreneurial journey. As you guys can see, there's already a bunch of ups and downs in this story. The downs when I was basically facing unemployment from Red Bull, the downs when we lost all of our clients during the beginning of COVID. But overall, if you can just learn from those, pivot from them in a positive way and continue forward, it's going to work out for you in your favor down the road. And I really hope that me sharing parts of these journeys are going to help you guys understand like what it's going to take to start your own business and be successful in your own venture and get you to that level of success that you ultimately want. From COVID, we just continued to refine that system over and over, getting our email sequences better, testing new ad campaigns, getting things to where we can acquire a customer for less and less and less. And once the lockdowns were lifted, I really felt like I needed to surround myself with other entrepreneurs and people that are just starting their own businesses. And I had a friend out here, Ricky, that basically introduced me to a whole group of people my age that all own their own businesses. I have a friend, Caleb, that owns Carson and More. My friend, Nick, is a house flipper. Ricky has an amazing stock trading course. My friend Justin has a company called Unlimited Ammo, and we all live basically within a 5-mile radius of each other. And it was just a very positive environment. And when you're like 25, 26, 27 and talking about growing a business, hiring employees, customer service and stuff like that, there's not a lot of people my age that I felt like I could relate to with those topics. So surrounding myself with them and actually moving into the same office space as a lot of them was really critical to get me in the right environment to feel like I could scale the company. So I made the move out to Arizona, surrounded myself with these great people, and I still am out here to this day, and I love being around them. They're all really great people to be around, but I moved out here and I decided, hey, we're making a decent enough amount of money now where it's time for me to unlock more scale. I thought that the next step that I needed to do was to hire a salesman. I did a bunch of interviews. I went out and posted a bunch of job boards, got a bunch of applicants, and I did a few in-person interviews. I went with a candidate that was older with about 20 years of experience. And my thought process around that was, hey, I might be good at sales, good enough at sales, but I want a salesman that can teach me something and that has something to bring to the table on his own. So I negotiated a salary with him, plus a commission split, and ended up hiring him on. And we worked side by side for 6 months. After the 6 months, I felt like he was really ready to go on his own and kind of work remote, which was the setup that we wanted to go after from the get-go. And he started working at his home for the next 6 months. But I was just having an extremely hard time getting him to close clients at the rate that I used to close. I felt like it was on me to get him more leads. So I actually cranked our ad spend up to sometimes $500 a day in ad spend. We were spending through a ton of money. I thought that my system, because I had it basically down to an equation, if I spend this much in ads and I make sure that my ads are performing at this level, I know that I can acquire a customer at this cost. While those numbers for the ads were remaining the same, the close rate just was not there. And we actually ended up closing very few from all that money in ad spend. Plus now I was coming out of pocket on his salary, and he was a W-2 employee, so I was paying a ton in taxes. This was a huge learning place for me, because prior to him, I hired 1099 for all my employees, where I didn't have to worry about all these payroll taxes and all this other paperwork. With him, I wanted to attract a really good employee, so I actually offered W-2 to everybody I was interviewing because I thought that's something that they wanted. it really ended up hurting me in the end because I was spending so much money on the ads. He wasn't converting. And since he wasn't 1099, I couldn't just fire him. He was going to go claim unemployment, and then my unemployment tax in the future was going to go up. So it was honestly a mess. That was a very, very stressful time in my life and my business. And it took us a very long time to financially recover. I ended up letting him go just because the business was losing money. We were spending too much on ads. He was not closing on the leads. It just wasn't working out for whatever reason. So I had to let him go and jump back into the driver's seat. And instead of working on the business and refining our systems and expanding our product base, I had to jump back into the sales and customer support level and really try to get us out of this hole that I've dug myself into. So eventually we just kind of buckled down, got to work, retained our clients, and paid off the debt that I had gotten us into. I was moving money from credit card to credit card. At one point, the business bank account was under $5,000 because I was taking such a big calculated risk. Had it worked out, man, it would have been a dream scenario, but at the time it just was not working. And I think I let it go on for a little bit too long. And one thing that I actually learned from one of my mentors during this process was hire slow, fire fast. If something's not working in the first 6 months, there's a very, very, very slim chance that something's magically going to switch on in this employee or in this process that's going to make things better. At this point, I actually was starting to work on our software company on the side. It was something that I had partnered up with a friend that I knew from back in Vegas. His name's Daniel, and he's been an amazing business partner on our software. He's a very, very, very smart coder. He takes care of a lot of the code and the product and the building of it. And I take care of a lot of the marketing, the business operations, and the customer support. Together, him and I are a very, very good team. But this is when I was realizing another pivot that I needed to make in my entrepreneurial journey. I knew that although SEO had a better profit margin, I realized that service-based businesses like SEO agencies are hard. The barrier to entry is low, so there's a lot of competition. The expectations that a client might have around the service may be different. You may think that you're doing a great job for them, but they may think that you're doing a terrible job. And there's no binary answer to say like, yes, I am executing because this is how it's supposed to go. Services fall into this gray area of customer satisfaction. And what I realized is that software is a very binary satisfaction type of situation where, hey, did your login work? Did your email send? Did your website work? If yes, we're doing our part of the deal and we are providing for what you're paying us for. And software also has better profit margins. Software also not only has better profit margins, but actually the customer support level on it and the fulfillment on it is also lower. So while software is harder to start, meaning the barrier to entry on building a software startup is really, really high and it takes a high level of skill, it's the fact that the higher the barrier to entry, the higher the rewards are. The reason that so many people are in SEO and that the profit margins are less than software is because the barrier to entry is lower. It's easier to start an SEO agency. Almost anybody can do it in the matter of a weekend, right? If I had to go restart one, I could go restart one tomorrow. But a software takes weeks and years and months of refining, testing, coding. And due to that, the barrier to entry is harder to get into, but it is worth it because you are going to make more money at the end of the day. And I will say that software is much harder to scale than SEO is. So it's another barrier to entry that is higher because getting somebody to sign up for your software, stick around and use it is harder than selling them a done for you, hey, sit back, relax, I'm gonna work on your SEO and get you this business rolling in. It's a whole different ballgame, and it's something that over the past few years, I've really refined to get our software out there and get more users on it. And man, it has been a very, very rewarding process. And I do see infinite scalability through the software space because we can iterate our product to be available to different industries, markets, niches, whatever you have. While yes, the agency is still kind of running in the background, I've since turned off scaling the agency further. I have the same support team and I have the same fulfillment team, and we actually retain our clients at such a high level that over the whole 2022, we only lost one client out of 25 that we are currently holding on to right now. We're still doing the same amount of work. The same people are still executing for that agency, but it's kind of a business that I've handed off to a team member to really manage. I'm not really interested in putting a lot of my brain power back into the agency because I do know that the software is where it's at in terms of our scalability, our profitability, and also the valuation is just much, much higher. On an agency, your valuation is basically a few X times your revenue, whereas a software, there's a huge multiple placed on your revenue. And we are profitable as a software, which is a huge milestone for a lot of software companies and startups out there. To this day, I am still iterating and I don't have it all figured out, and it is coming to me in waves. And I'm learning more and more and more and more every single month. And I'm so glad that I started my entrepreneurial journey back then when I had to leave Red Bull, because had I started my entrepreneurial journey now or 3 years from now, it would be a lot tougher. It would be tougher for me to take these big risks, not pay myself for months and months and months on end while we're dumping money into ad spend and coming back on the debt that we put ourselves in for that ad spend. And it's just been very, very rewarding to know over every single obstacle I've been able to basically guide our team, guide our companies to a higher level of success, no matter how bad that might feel in the moment, in terms of a failure, in terms of something not working, in terms of a bet I'm placing just not paying off. But knowing that every time that I am in those bad situations, we pull through and we find a way to make it work, and to make it work in a much better way than it possibly ever could have. I hope that my journey helps you guys feel like, hey, I don't have to have this whole master plan figured out, and I don't have to know exactly how I'm going to get there. I just need to take action. I just need to do the next step, and I just need to make this work. I hope that this video provides some value to you guys, inspires you in some way, or helps you get your first business started. If you guys have any questions, if I can ever help, please comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one with some more tips, tricks, and motivation to help you guys start your own business and get out there and get growing. Thanks.